Welcome to another episode of the Blemished Beauty Podcast. This podcast was designed with you in mind. If you're ready to erase the norm and embrace the truth, come pull up a chair, grab a journal, and tell a friend that your favorite Jersey girl is back with another episode. So let's get into it.
Hey family, welcome to the first episode of season 4. If this is your first time listening, my name is SheRa Renee and I am your virtual healing and motivation coach. This podcast is designed to tackle all things concerning mental health so we can show up into spaces happier, healed, and whole. Take a moment to do some self-inventory and ask yourself, how am I feeling? And my prayer is by the end of this episode, you will know how to answer that question honestly and be prepared to take the next steps into your healing journey. Since we last spoke, I suggested that it was time to own your scars. So now, allow me to tell you where I am. I'm in the grieving process. Thankfully, no one has died, but I am grieving some relationships that I thought were lifetime arrangements. But life has a way of showing us that our plans and God's plans don't always align. So when this happens, you must commit to letting go. This season is all about knowing better so we can do better. In this season, we will tackle some triggering topics, so please brace yourself as we get deeper into what healing really looks like. I told you last season that everyone's journey is different, and this season you will see exactly what I mean. This season will be full of survivor stories, and we will take and tackle some topics that will allow us to navigate where our trauma began and receive tips and tools on how to navigate through the journey. But until then, let's get into the grieving process. Now, grief is one of the hardest emotions to navigate through. There is no blueprint or timeline to prepare you for how long the process will be. And mourning the grief that's inevitable, like the loss of a loved one or a friend, that's a part of the life's process, right? But what about the grief of a relationship? For those of you who are new and may not know, this podcast was born out of my healing journey. Seasons 1 and 2 were filled with episodes about what I was going through in real time. So this is why I always encourage you to own your scars. This platform is built on vulnerability and transparency, so I want you to consider this podcast as your virtual safe space to cry, write, release, and admit the things you can't tell others about because, quite honestly, this is the place where I do the exact same thing. I'm in the process of grieving relationships that meant a lot to me, and as I was preparing for this episode, it dawned on me that usually when I grieve, I will cry and move forward. But now that I know better, like I stated before, it's time to do better. And doing better means healing the right way. So there are 5 stages to grief. Some people will give you 7, but I like to focus on the 5. And these 5 stages are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. In stage 1, which is denial, you may find yourself in disbelief. Disbelief that this loss of yours isn't happening, and if it's in a relationship, it is definitely common to be in denial that not only did this person do the unthinkable, but they did the unthinkable to you. In stage 2, which is anger, you mask all your emotions and pain you feel And sometimes you can redirect it to other people. It can cause irrational thinking, and some people may throw things. And in this stage, I think this stage probably lingers longer than most people realize. I want you to be careful in this stage though, because most people in this stage find themselves on first 48. And they find themselves on first 48 because they allowed their anger to get the best of them. Now, for me, when I'm in this stage, I start to think irrationally and I do something that I call a SpongeBob moment. And I remove myself from all forms of communication. If we're in a group chat, I'll remove myself. I will block the number. I will block you on social media. I have to do this process because if I don't, I'm going to keep hitting you up or keep going on your socials. So I'd rather just remove myself so you're not seen and not heard. That doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it any better. But as for me, that's what I do in this stage. And I'd rather do that than throw something or be on the first 48. So allow me to have my SpongeBob moment. Now, stage 3 is bargaining. You may find yourself wanting to regain control of the situation in this stage. This is usually the stage where you blame yourself and say things like, if only, or if I, or maybe I should have. If you are at this stage, please understand that you are only in control of you. For example, if you were in a relationship or a marriage and a person cheated, that was their choice. It has nothing to do with what you did or you did not do, but everything to do with their lack of integrity or respect they had for themselves and, of course, you. Stage 4 is depression. It's also known as the quiet stage of grief. And in this stage, unlike the others, you may get to the point where you feel overwhelmed. Now, for me, in this stage, I feel very heavy. Others may feel foggy or confused, but I want you to imagine laying down and there are weighted blankets on top of you. This is what depression feels like to me. You find yourself not wanting to participate in day-to-day activities, or you feel helpless without answers. And if you're in this stage, please reach out to someone. Do not let this feeling consume you. Surround yourself with people who can intercede on your behalf. And interceding on your behalf, that means they will stand in the gap and pray for you and encourage you until you are strong enough to stand again. Do not enter this stage alone. And if you do not have someone, there are hotlines that you guys can call where people can talk you through it. And as always, you know you can email me at blemishbeautypod@gmail.com. And I will provide a safe space for you as well. Now, the last stage, which is stage 5, that is acceptance. Now, don't let that word acceptance fool you. This is not always happy or joyous, but it's more like a coming into the understanding. And in this stage, I want you to understand that now life is different. You will be learning how to navigate a different version of yourself. So you have to give yourself grace. You will be living a life without this person. And you've never done that before. So find things to keep you grounded, whether that's journaling or creating a playlist that soothes you, finding a podcast like the Blemish Beauty Podcast to encourage you, and surrounding yourself with friends who motivate you. And most of all, leaning into God who will sustain you. I want you to find your rhythm, find your recipe, and stick with it. So find, apply, stick, and repeat. Now, as I wrap up this episode, I hope you have taken the moment to do some self-reflection and really ask yourself the hard question. Have I truly healed from all the relationships that are no longer active in my life? Remember to own where you are in these 5 stages. I want you to feel everything, but don't stay there. Find your rhythm, stay grounded, and of course, stay encouraged. Accept that the person you thought you knew never existed, and remind yourself that even in this, God is still good. So until next time, spread love, show grace, and shine bright.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and don't forget to leave a review. You can follow SheRa on all major platforms and on YouTube at SheRa Renee 510. Until next time, spread love, show grace, and shine bright.